Please, come in. Shut the door behind you. I was just finishing a letter of correspondence. Personal friend. There. Thank you for your patience. My name is Calliope. What's yours? Ah, I recall. Let me see. So many papers. There we are. I see. Right on time for your appointment. Oh, come in and settle. Can I offer you any tea? Yes, I'm afraid it is quite warm. I understand if you don't want to partake. Hot tea, hot day. Not always a good combination. So tell me, why is it that you have sought me out this evening? Excellent, I see. Well, I think I can certainly start a psychoanalysis session with you. Now, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the practice, if you'd like. Good, just so that you know exactly what you're getting into. It's much different than many of the therapies of late. It's quite recent. In fact, it was developed a short while ago in 1896 by Sigmund Freud. It's brought us so many miraculous wonders of the mind, ways to interpret it, ways to treat it. And the psychoanalysis is based on the philosophy that our unconscious mind, which is often shaped by our childhood events and somewhat our internal conflicts, has a great influence upon our personality and our behaviors. Dr. Freud did believe that most of our personality was set in stone by the age of 5. So the mind is developed into two portions. You have the unconscious mind and the conscious mind. The conscious mind is everything that we see and feel, that we acknowledge, that is at the forefront of our mind. Whereas the unconscious mind is all of the background workings, if you will. It's our thoughts, our memories, our urges, things that we have to seek out to reveal and understand. Now, the personality is divided into 3 major sections. We have the id, which is all of our base desires, our urges, our instincts, if you will. The id has no concept of morality, no good nor bad. It just wants, if you will. The id can be quite impulsive and can be unrestrained at times, and it's our ego's job to keep it in check. Now, the superego is your center for your highest sense of morality, of good and bad, of right and wrong. This part of your personality often will inflict guilt upon you for the urges of the id and the actions of the ego. But this is the part of us that tells us what is right and wrong, what we should do, what we should not do. And the ego is the mediator between the id and the superego. It attempts to find a balance between our desires and our morals. And our ego tends to favor the id. It tends to be more impulsive and doesn't necessarily want to listen to our superego. None of us wish to feel chastised, especially by our own selves. So it makes sense that our ego has a hard time listening to the superego as opposed to the wants of the id. Now, the ego tends to employ certain defense mechanisms, and these defense mechanisms are placed often without our knowledge, unconsciously, and it serves to help us feel more comfortable so that we don't encounter anxiety, that we don't encounter the pain and discomfort of giving in to our id or listening to our superego more than we should. It is there to help protect us from all the thoughts and feelings and memories that we cannot accept. Now, Freud had identified several types of defense mechanisms, such as denial or fantasy, projection, reaction formation, regression, repression, and so on and so forth. The mind has so many tools to try to protect us from things that we believe we cannot handle. Now, psychoanalysis uses techniques such as free association, interpreting fantasies and dreams, as well as noting the transference between the patient and myself, and the countertransference between myself and whoever I am treating. Now, our goal is to help our patient gain insight on their mind by bringing the unconscious to light and understanding the conflicts in their unconscious that are affecting them, affecting their behaviors, their personality. So, this process begins with you as you are on my couch there. I'm going to have you recline on the couch. I want you to be as comfortable as possible, and part of that is that the couch faces away from me. And when you are looking straight ahead, you will not be able to see me. This is to help you feel a little more secure, as you are not watching me. You are not trying to assess my expression or my inner thoughts. You are just focusing on your monologue and the questions that I ask you. I am meant to be a blank screen, and I'm just here to facilitate the continuation of your inner monologue. And we keep continuing until you find some catharsis or healing in perhaps a memory you didn't believe was affecting you, or perhaps you have some sort of fear that has been caging you. And when we bring that to light, when we identify that, then we can work to minimize it or get rid of it entirely so that we can continue living in a healthier fashion, and we can get rid of that defense mechanism that is causing us harm. So, I'll have you recline on the couch. Just bring yourself to a comfortable position. I want you to just hear the stillness in the room. You may hear the sounds of the city outside, the wheels of the carriages, the stomping of the hooves, the quick little steps of people wandering by. You may hear the sounds of the city, but I want you to acknowledge them and let them fade into the background. We will not be focusing on these further. I want you to take some breaths, steady yourself, make sure you are present in this very moment, in this room, with myself. Now, you may hear me writing from time to time. I want you to pay little attention to it. This room is a safe place for you and your thoughts. I will not be telling anyone else about your inner thoughts, your conflicts, things that you may or may not have done. You are safe here. I am not here to judge you, and I don't want you to worry about any sort of judgment. We are here to help you. We are here to gain insight into your mind and help you lead a more productive and fruitful life. Now, just relax. And I want you to tell me a little bit more about why you've sought me out. What have you been noticing in your life that has made you consider psychoanalysis as a treatment? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. I see. Now I want you to tell me a little bit about what's on your mind currently. What are your thoughts, your feelings, anything that comes to mind? Mm-hmm. 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 Interesting. And can you elaborate a little bit more on why you may feel that this may or may not work for you? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. How is it that you heard about my services if you haven't had anyone in your life with any anecdotal evidence as to the efficacy of psychoanalysis? So what I'm hearing is, despite your uncertainty towards the therapy, more so because of its recent inception, you had decided that your problems that you've detailed to me have become too great for you to deal with alone, and you thought that why not, right? I'd like to assure you that I will do the absolute best of my ability to help you with these things you have talked about, and I hope that we can find some solutions together and we can get you to a much more steady place in your life. Now, if you wouldn't mind, if you could tell me a little bit about your childhood. What were your parents like in your life? What did they do for a living? I see. No, please continue on. Now, I want to assure you that even though you feel that perhaps your life has been fairly insignificant with an unimportant background, that every human being's life has value. And what you've told me is certainly worrying, and I am sorry that this has occurred. And I want you to know that I do take it seriously. I know that perhaps other people you may know, other peers may not, as many childhoods have ended up in this same way, with our parents suffering injuries due to their line of work or losing their occupation due to the automation. But I assure you that no matter how many times I've heard this sort of story, it is still important nonetheless. Yes, I promise you. Now, it is interesting that you did minimize what your particular background is, and is that because others have minimized this? How is it that you truly feel about this without the thoughts of other people or their reactions? What is it like for you? I see. And that's understandable, absolutely. Good. So, that is certainly a good start. Is there anything else that comes to mind, whether a memory or a dream or any sort of passing thoughts on what we've discussed? Yes. Yes, I certainly understand that. This new talk therapy, I've heard it called before, is certainly something revolutionary and something that we haven't seen before. And I know that our culture tends to forbid us from speaking about these difficulties. This psychoanalysis brings that all to the surface. Instead of weighing us down, it brings it to light so that we can finally make peace with it, realize that it is impacting us and allowing us to move forward. I know that it may feel a bit odd to be actually speaking about this when we're told to just bundle it up and move on. But I find that many of my patients see wondrous results even after just the first session because they're finally able to set that bundle down, release the weight, and move forward. Now I'd like to try an exercise with you. This is known as free association. I want you to tell me the first words that come to mind, your thoughts, your feelings, perhaps even a memory. I want you to do this as fast as you can. You don't need to mull it over in your mind, just whatever comes to mind. And I want to assure you that I'm not going to be judging what you say. It does not matter if it makes any sense or if your thoughts line up at all. It's just whatever you think, whatever you feel in that moment. Okay, very good. Now, if you would like, if it perhaps makes it easier for you, you may close your eyes. If it helps to not see anything and just focus on the words that I say, that is more than fine. Now, I'm going to tell you some words, and I will be writing your responses down. Rope. Mm-hmm. 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 Excellent. White. Open. Hungry. Fear. Rain. house. Silence. Careful. Enjoyment. Good, good, good. If you had your eyes closed, you may open them if you wish. Now, did you notice when we performed that exercise any particular patterns or words or feelings that stood out to you? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about what came up for you? Do you feel like those words, those feelings fit into your mind, into your life? Or is it perhaps something that you fear happening or fear feeling? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about what you had just said. Right, it sounded like you were recalling a memory, perhaps? Hmm. Mm-hmm. And what age was this? I see. Please continue. Mm. Mm-hmm. can continue if you'd like. Whatever's on your mind. And do you perhaps have any thought as to why you are feeling this way about this memory? What it sounds like to me is that this memory comes from a place where you are the same age as this memory occurs. And with some events, the way we feel never ages. So perhaps if we have something traumatic happen at the age of 10, when we think upon that memory, we have that feeling, we have those thoughts as if we were still 10. So it sounds like with this particular memory, your feelings are the same age as the memory, but your thoughts are trying to age past it. So you have some of that regression, but at the same time, you're trying to minimize what happened, trying to move forward. And I have to ask if that is you or if it is the people around you. Perhaps what they've said, what you thought they were thinking. Because from what I have heard from you, these thoughts, what you've said, does not align with what you've told me, with how I've seen you so far. Would it be fair to say that perhaps because those that were involved in this memory, those you've discussed this memory with, is it fair to say that perhaps you may not be able to move on, that you feel stuck in this place because there is no discussion? I see. Do you have any other thoughts or feelings on the matter? And there in your statement, what you just said, I see again that minimization, but also some of that regression as well. That I believe that what other people have said to you, how other people recount things that happen to you from their perspective, I think that plays a much bigger part in the way you try to explain your own memories, explain your own world. It sounds like so many of the thoughts you've said are not truly your own. Mm-hmm. Well, it certainly seems that our free association exercise worked quite well with you. The benefit of using the free association exercise is that we try to have the patient respond in such a way so quickly that they don't have time to use those defense mechanisms to shield their thoughts, to edit what they're feeling, and we can get to the root of perhaps something that is blocking them, something that they wish to see or be but do not dare speak aloud. How did that exercise feel for you? Not necessarily the words or the patterns we found with it, but the exercise itself. Do you feel like it was beneficial? Do you feel perhaps that it is something that you would like to continue in the future? That is interesting that you mentioned that the exercise was helpful in that you were able to bring to light thoughts you hadn't had in a long time, feelings that you had, things you haven't thought of, and that is one of the beautiful things about psychoanalysis, is that with these different tools, we can bring to light these things that we perhaps had written off sometime previously, that we believe do not affect us, that we believe that we can move on from without any further thought. And the psychoanalysis hones in on those thoughts, those memories, those feelings that are affecting us negatively. It can help us know ourself more, our inner desires, and how it conflicts with our morality. I think that this can be a very helpful tool with you in the future. What are your thoughts on the session? mentioned that you were open to continuing these sessions. Psychoanalysis occurs about 4 to 5 times a week, and the sessions will be quite similar to this. And the idea is that with each session, we learn something new, that we uncover another piece of the puzzle that tells us more about what is going on inside your unconscious mind that is affecting you so. I may have to see you for quite a long time. Oftentimes we may have sessions where we don't find too much out, and there may be sessions where perhaps you don't feel you can discuss what's really going on. There may be some sessions where things are a little more clouded, a little murky, and for that reason we have so many sessions. It may take us a while to chip away at what's going on inside your psyche, but with the session we had this evening, I believe that you are an excellent candidate for this therapy. What are your thoughts on that? Excellent. Glad to hear it. Now, I would like to see you back here tomorrow at the same time, if that works well for you. Indeed, yes. And we will continue just as we did today, and perhaps we can get more accomplished, seeing as we have gotten all the explanation out of the way. And I will keep these notes and start a file for your sessions. And then from time to time, I may go back over what we have gone over in our sessions, and we can try to form patterns and see what may come up multiple times, things we really have to hone into. Does that make sense? Excellent. So, is there anything else I can do for you? That's fine. Well, I would like to thank you for a most invigorating session. It is quite refreshing to have a patient that responds so well to psychoanalysis. In this day and age, so many of us are so guarded and do not feel that we can be vulnerable with anyone. And I am glad to see that you were able to relax and to tell me more about you, your life, and what's going on. Thank you so much for coming into my office. I cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Thank you.